I came back one day early and saw my husband at the airport with flowers. She jumped in his arms. That image still burns in my mind like it happened this morning. I'm Nora Bennett, born in 1984 in Charleston, South Carolina. Back in 2023, after 14 years of marriage, I thought I knew my husband, Daniel. We had built a life filled with trust, or what I thought was trust. I felt secure, cherished even, but then something happened that tore the floor from under my feet. Today, at 41, I'm finally sharing this because silence only protects the wrong people. If you're listening, drop where you're tuning in from and don't forget to subscribe because sometimes, our stories are the only proof that survival is possible. That Thursday morning, the air in Nashville smelled like rain and jet fuel. I wasn't supposed to be there until the next day. I'd been in Atlanta wrapping up an event planning contract for a luxury wedding that ended 2 days early. I wanted to surprise Daniel, the man who still made my heart skip when he smiled. 14 years together, and I still left little notes in his jacket pockets. I parked in short-term parking, humming the same old tune we used to dance to. It was one of those rare moments where everything felt calm and right until I saw him. Daniel was standing in the arrival lane, holding a bouquet of white lilies and pink tulips. My favorite. For a moment I grinned, thinking, he's surprising me. I nearly called his name. But then I froze. Because before I could take another step, a woman in a coral dress ran straight into his arms, squealing with joy. He lifted her off the ground, kissed her cheek, and pressed the flowers into her hands. She clung to him like they'd been apart for a lifetime. And just like that, the air left my lungs. I stood behind a pillar, my suitcase handle clenched so tightly my knuckles turned white. They laughed, the kind of laugh Daniel hadn't shared with me in months. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear as he whispered something, and she hit his chest playfully. My world blurred around them, the noise of travelers, rolling luggage, the dull voice of flight announcements, everything faded. He took her hand, leading her toward the parking lot. The same black Audi he always drove to pick me up. I watched him open the door for her, the way he used to for me. That tiny gesture, so familiar, suddenly felt like a knife twisting. I could have confronted him right there, but something inside me, something colder and stronger said, don't. Instead, I snapped a photo on my phone. Then another, when he kissed her forehead through the window. My hands trembled so badly that the pictures blurred, but I kept clicking until they drove off. I stood there until the rain began, feeling each drop like a slap on my skin. That night, I didn't go home. I checked into the Hampton Inn near the airport and sat on the bed, still wearing my blazer. I replayed everything I'd seen, trying to rewrite it into something innocent. Maybe it was a coworker. Maybe it was a cousin. But deep down I knew. My husband wasn't at the airport to greet me. He was there for someone else. The next morning, I returned home as if nothing happened. Daniel was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes and smiling that easy smile. "You're early," he said, walking over to kiss me. I turned my cheek slightly, pretending to sneeze. He laughed, poured me coffee, and started talking about a long day at work. His phone buzzed twice, once with a text that made him glance at me and then quickly turn the screen down. I excused myself, pretending to check my emails, but my hands were trembling again. That was when I decided I wouldn't confront him. Not yet. I'd been a planner all my life. I didn't throw events together without a plan, and I wasn't about to throw my life into chaos without one either. I would collect my evidence quietly. For the next few days, I watched. He became predictable with the early morning jogs, the late-night conference calls, the sudden bursts of energy that used to be reserved for us. I started paying attention to details I'd always ignored. The scent of another woman's perfume on his jacket. Receipts tucked in his pockets. One from a restaurant called Bella Luna, a place we'd once gone to for our anniversary, only now he was there with someone else. By the end of that week, my heart had hardened in ways I didn't think were possible. I created a new folder on my laptop labeled Project Eclipse. It was a name no one else would understand, but for me, it symbolized something being covered, something that once shone bright now dimmed by betrayal. I uploaded the photos, receipts, and screenshots of his late-night messages when he thought I was asleep. There was one night I nearly broke my silence. He came home smelling like cologne I didn't recognize, humming softly. "Big project is finished," he said, hugging me. His phone buzzed again. I caught a glimpse. "See you soon, my love." My throat burned, but I smiled through it. "That's great, honey," I whispered. "We should celebrate." He nodded, completely unaware that I was already planning my escape. That same night, while he showered, I opened his briefcase. Inside, I found a hotel keycard tucked into a folded note, Suite 214 Friday. I took a photo, slipped it back, and sat quietly in the living room until he fell asleep. Friday came, and I drove to the address listed on the receipt. A mid-range apartment complex near downtown Nashville. My heart pounded as I parked a few cars away. I waited, camera ready. At 6:18 p.m., Daniel arrived, same black Audi, same easy smile. Minutes later, the woman from the airport, now dressed in jeans and a red blouse, walked out, met him halfway, and they disappeared inside together. I sat there for an hour, then another, until the light in the apartment window flicked off. I drove home in silence. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked like a stranger's eyes, swollen, lips trembling, but also determined. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine, sat on the porch, and watched the sky turn from indigo to black. My phone buzzed with his message. "Working late, don't wait up." I smiled faintly and whispered to the empty air, "I won't." The next morning, I called my assistant and cleared my weekend schedule. I needed to think strategically, like I did when planning high-profile events. If this was going to fall apart, it would fall apart on my terms. I wasn't just going to lose a husband. I was going to reclaim myself. By Sunday, I started researching divorce lawyers quietly, discreetly, using my maiden email address. I made a list of questions about asset division, infidelity clauses, and how Tennessee's equitable distribution worked. I didn't understand much at first, but I was determined to learn. I wasn't just an event planner anymore. I was the architect of my own liberation. Every smile I gave Daniel after that was rehearsed. Every "I love you" that passed my lips was a strategy. I had built events worth millions. I could build a divorce plan that would end in victory. But for now, I waited, pretending nothing was wrong, because in my world, timing was everything. And timing, I knew, would be the key to making Daniel Bennett regret every single lie he ever told me. The morning after I saw Daniel with that woman, I woke up feeling strangely calm. I'd already cried all I could. Now it was time to think. My entire career had been about managing chaos, turning emotion into structure, heartbreak into beauty. That's what event planning really is, making the messy parts look effortless. And if I could plan celebrity weddings, corporate galas, and political fundraisers without a single flaw, then surely, I could plan my way out of a failing marriage. I started by building a timeline. The earliest signs of his affair, changes in his schedule, the first suspicious charge on our joint credit card, the restaurant receipts, all of it went into a spreadsheet. My color-coded madness began: red for financial misconduct, blue for lies, yellow for emotional inconsistencies. It was almost therapeutic, organizing my pain into neat little boxes. I didn't tell anyone. Not my assistant, not my mother, not even my best friend, Erin. Secrets are like power. You lose them the moment you share them. And I needed every bit of power I could gather. Daniel thought I was oblivious. He'd walk in humming, smelling of whiskey and perfume, spinning stories about meetings and deadlines. I'd nod and kiss his cheek, pretending to believe him, all while taking notes on my phone. Sometimes, I caught myself staring at him, really staring, and realizing how little I knew the man I'd married. Then one night, curiosity got the better of me. I followed him. He left around 7, claiming to meet a client. I waited 5 minutes, grabbed my keys, and trailed him downtown. He parked outside that same apartment complex I'd seen before, the one with the flickering porch light. I waited as he knocked, and the door opened. The woman, yes, her, greeted him in a silk robe, laughing as she pulled him inside. My chest tightened, but I didn't cry this time. I took photos, then left. On the way home, I stopped at a diner, ordered coffee I didn't drink, and stared at the couple sitting across from me. They were laughing, sharing fries, completely unaware that I was sitting there, dissecting my own marriage like a coroner. By the time I got home, I knew exactly what I needed: a lawyer who could fight for me, not just defend me. I researched every top divorce attorney in Tennessee. That's how I found Miranda Lockhart, a name that came up over and over again in high net worth cases. Her reviews called her ruthless, strategic, and unshakably calm. I liked that. When I walked into her office, Miranda looked like the kind of woman who'd never been caught off guard by anything. She extended her hand with a firm grip. "Nora Bennett, right? Tell me what brings you here." I took a deep breath. "I think my husband's having an affair." She nodded slowly, like she already knew where this was going. "You think or you know?" "I know," I said, sliding the manila folder across her desk. Inside were photos, receipts, and screenshots. Everything is neatly labeled. She raised a brow as she flipped through the evidence. "You've done more work than most private investigators." "I plan events," I said. "Details are my job." She smiled faintly. "Then this might be easier than you think. Tennessee is an equitable distribution state, but if we can prove dissipation of marital assets, money spent on the affair, you'll have leverage." "How long has it been going on?" 2 years, I whispered. Miranda's pen stopped midair. "That's significant. We'll need bank records, credit card statements, and proof of any joint funds he used on her." "I already have some," I said, handing her another envelope. Her expression softened. "You're good, Nora. But this isn't just about the law. It's about timing. You'll need to keep things steady, no sudden moves. Keep acting like everything's normal until we're ready to strike." That word strike echoed in my head all the way home. For the next month, I lived 2 lives. By day, I was the charming wife, smiling through dinners and events, holding Daniel's arm as if nothing were wrong. By night, I became my own investigator, tracking expenses, recording conversations, organizing photos. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I nearly broke down. Once, he came home with lipstick faintly smudged on his collar. I told him, "You should change before dinner. That color doesn't suit you." He laughed, completely unaware of what I meant. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Not yet. Meanwhile, my work life flourished. Ironically, I'd just been hired to plan the hospital's annual gala, a prestigious event where Daniel was scheduled to receive an award for his research foundation. The irony wasn't lost on me. My husband, the philanthropist, who donated to charity in public and cheated in private. Miranda and I devised the plan. I'd file for divorce immediately after the gala. That way, his reputation would take the biggest hit when all the press coverage came out. "He'll be too distracted by the fallout to fight back effectively," Miranda said. "It's the cleanest cut you can make." During those weeks, I learned things about Daniel that made my stomach turn. Hidden bank accounts. An apartment lease in his name. Thousands of dollars withdrawn under consulting fees. He wasn't just unfaithful, he was reckless. He'd spent our future on her. But I wasn't reckless, I was deliberate. Every move I made was timed to perfection. I attended a couple's dinners, smiled in photos, and even planned our holiday getaway. The more normal I acted, the less he suspected. One evening, while reviewing guest lists for the gala, Daniel came into my office. "You've been quiet lately," he said, rubbing my shoulders. "Just tired," I replied. "Big event season." He kissed the top of my head. "You're amazing, you know that?" I forced a smile. "I try." As soon as he left, I exhaled slowly. The weight of pretending was heavier than betrayal itself. But every act of restraint felt like fuel for the victory that awaited me. I spent my nights reading legal documents, memorizing Tennessee statutes, and highlighting anything that could work in my favor. Miranda called me her most prepared client ever. But I wasn't doing it for pride, I was doing it to survive. The day before the gala, I rehearsed every detail one last time. The lighting, the music, the seating chart, the press table. Everything was perfect because that's what I did best. But beneath the polish, a storm brewed quietly. When I looked in the mirror that night, I barely recognized the woman staring back. Her eyes were sharp, her mouth set in a line of quiet determination. I wasn't the same Nora who cried in the car outside an apartment complex. I was someone new, someone who'd learned that dignity could be louder than rage. Daniel slept peacefully beside me, dreaming his secret dreams. I whispered to the darkness, "Enjoy it while you can." The next day would change everything. The night of the hospital gala arrived like the calm before a storm. The ballroom shimmered with soft gold light, chandeliers glowing above silk-draped tables. My company's logo, Bennett and Bloom Events, was printed elegantly on every banner, a silent reminder of how far I'd come. I'd planned hundreds of events before, but this one was different. This was my masterpiece, my final performance before walking away from the life I'd spent 14 years building. I slipped into a navy blue gown that hugged my frame, my hair swept into a low bun. Diamonds sparkled at my ears, ones Daniel had given me years ago, before he'd forgotten what love meant. As I applied my lipstick, my hands didn't tremble this time. I looked calm, poised, powerful. Downstairs, Daniel waited in his tuxedo, grinning like a man who thought he had it all. "You look stunning," he said, adjusting his cufflinks. "Thank you," I replied, my tone even. "Ready to make history tonight?" He laughed. "Always." If only he knew how true that would be. The gala began beautifully. The city's most influential doctors, donors, and socialites filled the room with laughter and music. My team worked flawlessly, gliding across the ballroom like dancers in sync. Every detail was perfect. The floral arrangements, the wine, the lighting, even the seating chart that strategically placed Daniel near the hospital board members he hoped to impress. I kept my composure, chatting politely with guests, thanking sponsors, smiling when cameras turned my way. No one saw the war happening behind my calm eyes. They didn't see the divorce papers folded neatly inside my clutch, waiting for the right moment. Halfway through the evening, Daniel took the stage to receive his award. I stood at the back of the room, clapping with everyone else as he delivered his speech. His voice was smooth and confident, filled with gratitude for me, for our family, for the hospital community. I watched him, the same way an artist studies their finished painting, knowing it's the last time they'll ever touch it. When the applause died down, he came down from the stage and kissed my cheek for the cameras. "You're my lucky charm," he whispered. I smiled, whispering back, "Luck runs out." He chuckled, not understanding what I meant. But Miranda, who stood by the exit in a black dress, gave me a subtle nod. Everything was in motion. After the gala ended, guests began to leave, still buzzing about how spectacular the evening had been. Daniel mingled with a few donors, his charm in full display. I excused myself to check on the catering team, and slipped outside where Miranda's assistant waited with a manila envelope. I took it, tucked it into my clutch, and returned to the ballroom like nothing had happened. Later that night, when we got home, Daniel poured 2 glasses of champagne. "To another successful event," he said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his. "To the last one." He frowned. "What?" Before he could ask again, there was a knock at the door. He opened it, confusion flashing across his face as a process server handed him an envelope. "Daniel Bennett." "Yes. You've been served." The man left, and Daniel turned to me, pale. "What is this?" "Open it," I said quietly. He tore the envelope, his hands shaking as his eyes darted over the pages. "Divorce. Nora, what the hell is this?" I leaned against the counter, watching him read. "It's the truth catching up with you." He looked up, disbelief clouding his face. "You're divorcing me? Now? After everything, after tonight?" Exactly after tonight, I said. You wanted to build your reputation before leaving me. I just saved you the trouble. His voice rose. You've been spying on me? I smiled faintly. Documenting. Big difference. He slammed the papers on the table. This is ridiculous. You don't have proof. Check page 12, I said. He did and froze. His eyes widened as he saw the photos, the receipts, the text messages, even the apartment lease in his name. How did you even? I plan events for a living, Daniel. You think I can't plan a divorce? He slumped into a chair, running his hands through his hair. This will ruin me. I walked over, setting my glass down beside him. It won't ruin you, Daniel. It'll expose you. There's a difference. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the clock ticking on the wall, steady and cruel. Finally, he whispered, Is there anything I can say to change your mind? I looked at him, really looked, and realized how small he'd become in my eyes. You had 2 years to say something that mattered, I said softly. You used that time to lie. I left him sitting there, the award from the gala still gleaming on the table beside the divorce papers. The next few months were brutal, but I had prepared for every storm. With Miranda's guidance, I negotiated a 60-40 asset split and full reimbursement for every dollar he spent on that woman. Daniel tried to fight at first, but the evidence was too strong. His reputation wavered, his foundation donors withdrew, and the woman he'd risked everything for quietly disappeared. I changed my name back to Nora Caldwell. It felt strange at first, like wearing a dress that didn't quite fit. But soon it felt right. Familiar. Mine. I transformed Daniel's old study into my new home office, painted the walls cream, filled it with peonies and sunlight. That room became the birthplace of my rebirth. I rebranded my business as Caldwell Celebrations and started taking new clients, women who, like me, were starting over. I even began offering divorce celebration packages. It wasn't about bitterness. It was about closure. About reclaiming joy. One evening, while reviewing a client list, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I saw your interview on Channel 9. You look happy. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at it for a moment before replying, Thank you. I hope you find peace. Then I blocked the number. 6 months later, my company won an award for Event Planner of the Year. I stood on that stage, lights shining down, applause washing over me, and felt something I hadn't in years, pride. Real, untainted pride. After the ceremony, I went home, kicked off my heels, and poured myself a glass of wine. I stepped out onto the balcony, the city lights glittering below, and whispered, I did it. The pain had turned into strength. The betrayal had become my foundation. And the woman who once stood crying at an airport was now standing tall, free, fulfilled, and finally at peace. I realized that love, at its best, should never make you feel small. It should expand you, not confine you. And sometimes, the most beautiful love story is the one you write with yourself. Moral lesson. Healing doesn't come from revenge. It grows from reclaiming your own worth. Nora learned that heartbreak isn't the end of your story, but the beginning of a new one. Sometimes, the people who break you are the ones who unknowingly teach you how to rebuild stronger. It's okay to start over, to walk away from someone who forgot your value, and to celebrate your survival. You can lose love and still find peace. You can fall apart and still rise beautifully. Remember, your healing doesn't need their apology. Your future starts the moment you stop waiting for it.